Resident Evil 6.
Hi guys, and welcome to episode 5 of Big Man Gaming. As always, I am the Big Man Gamer. Now today we kind of changed it up a little bit, as you can see. Format's a little bit different. Before we get into the main topic of today, I do want to let you guys know that this is going to be the end of Season 1. Now you look at yourself and be like, well, there's only 5 episodes in Season 1. Yes, there's only 5 episodes in Season 1. We're doing this for one. This was kind of like our testing, how we wanted to set it up, what looks good, what didn't look good. So that way when we get more advanced into it, we know what we're doing, and we know what fans like and what they don't like. So, another reason is I am going to school currently pretty much for this, so I don't want to do this video, plus work on another project that me and my friend Brian are doing, plus the projects I have for school that are pretty much the same thing, and it just would get too convoluted. So for right now, I'm going to take a break until at least Halo 4. There's really not much that's coming out. I mean, there is like Need for Speed and a few other things. I think Assassin's Creed 3, but the next big project is Halo 4. So I'm just kind of let it go until then, and that's when I'll pick up on Season 2. So now that you guys know that, it'll be a couple weeks, and I do apologize ahead of time. So today, we're going to get into Resident Evil 6. Now, this is a game that a lot of people have been talking about. Forums have blown up about it, different topics and opinions. So I'm going to go in and go ahead and let you know how I feel about the game and the different aspects of it. So first, I'll let you guys know there are 3 main campaigns. There ends up being a 4th that you unlock, but there are 3. It's Leon, Chris, and Jake. With Leon, you have a female partner of Helena. With Chris, you have Pierce. And then with Jake, you have Sherry Birkin. Now, it's kind of weird because, like, Leon's had his own story and is the hero of his. Chris has his own story and the hero of his. And Sherry Birkin's somebody from the past. And it's kind of like her story, but yet it's not focused on her. It's on Jake. So that one's kind of weird in that aspect. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about Chris first, then I'm going to talk about Jake, and then I'm going to save Leon for last, and you'll see why I do save Leon for last. With Chris's campaign, it's something that we kind of expect. It's, if you've ever played Resident Evil 5, which I'm sure a lot of you have, it's a lot of run and gun. There's a lot of action to it. There is, obviously, at first, there's a lot of what the enemy is called as Juavo, and so there's a lot of forms of that where they're just wielding knives or, pistols or guns, so it does feel kind of zombie-ish, but it's still, you start off as Chris, you have a machine gun and a pistol, and as Pierce, you have a machine pistol, pretty much, and a sniper rifle, so it is very run-and-gun action-oriented. So when you get into that one, you expect it. There are a lot of big BOWs, as they're called in this game. Like in 4, you had that big troll, and then 5, they had the troll again. That was kind of mutated a bit, and now they've got another version of it. And you end up, I know, like with combat shotguns and different weapons. So like I said, very, very action-oriented, not that whole zombie survivor kind of feel to it. But overall, I will say that I like Chris's campaign. Me and my friend Brian played through it, and it was very good. I did enjoy it. Jake's campaign with Sherry. That one is kind of hard to describe. You do fight enemies, but I want to say not very often. There's a lot of running. There's a lot of action, quick time events, and a lot of running that is involved in that one, where you're running either from a big boss or some kind of equipment or whatever. There's a lot of running, and You will, if you're not used to it, you will die a lot in that campaign. I know we got frustrated quite a bit because the camera angles would be kind of wonky, and you would expect it to be run one way, and then you run the other way and get caught up on something, or there was one where we had to run down a hallway, and the camera naturally had us run to the right, and we actually needed to run to the left, so then going across the hall, this tank ended up running us over. It kind of got ridiculous. I wanted to like Jake's story. I thought Jake was a cool character, being Wesker's son, but I just couldn't get into it because there was so many QuickTime events and so much running and so much not playing that I couldn't enjoy it. It really disappointed me. And
suck it up, Finn. Sorry, sir.
And the end battle was cool, but there was a lot of times where I was like, I just want to fight more stuff. I just want to shoot things rather than run. Now I'll talk about Leon's. And the reason I save Leon's for last is because of that old saying, save the best for last. And I really believe that. I believe Leon's campaign was the best of the three. At first, you do a lot of zombie shooting, which is what we come to know and love from Resident Evil. There's a lot of zombies. There's a lot of scary parts. The first time I played through it, I'm going around corridors, and I'm like, okay, what's going to jump out? What's not going to jump? You know, you've got a flashlight on your shoulder, and you're trying to see what's around, and you've got your gun pointed everywhere that you can, because it's like, what's coming out of where? And there's a number of times that in the second chapter, you're in a graveyard, and you're running, and the lightning strikes, and your character, kind of does this, and you're kind of blinded, and all of a sudden there's a zombie right in your face, and the first time it scared me. I'm like, oh crap! Pulled my gun up and just started popping away. And then there's a part eventually where you have to get this key from a dog, but when you go to open the door, the dog jumps out at you, and it creeped me out. I mean, it scared me. I had the lights out, and I'm sitting here, scared. Every corridor I went around, my gun was out. I made sure of it. And it felt like a Resident Evil game. And I honestly think if it was just Chris and Jake's campaign, that it wouldn't have been a good game. I honestly think Leon's campaign saved it. And it's very, very good. The nice thing they kind of added for this one is that you can play them in any order that you want. So you could do Chris, Jake, Leon. You could do what we did. We did Leon, Chris, and Jake, just kind of went in order. And I honestly say I like that. I liked how they changed it up, and I do like the way they kind of, all the stories intersected with one another. And if you wanted to, you could have it available so that way when, Leon and Helena meet up with Sherry and Jake, that there's 4 people actually playing together at that certain point. I do like that. I find that a very good idea that I think they could implement better into the future. So that being said, that is where your campaigns kind of rank and how I feel that they were done. They could have been done better, Jake's especially, but I do like Leon's, and I did think Chris's was definitely okay.
Is he always this awesome?
Yes, Finn, I am always this awesome. Another thing I wanted to go into is there's 2 modes that they have for this besides the campaigns. Now, they have mercenaries, which has been in a lot of Resident Evil games, and we all know what it is. You pick a character, and you can go by yourself, or you can go with a friend, and you have a time limit, and you run around fighting zombies and collecting more time and collecting. They actually have these combo power-ups, that way your combos are worth more, and collecting ammo, and you pretty much just run around trying to survive as long as you can and getting the mission done. And based on your score and how well you did, you get a ranking. And they, once again did it in this, and you end up, you can get skill points in that, and that way you can get your skill settings. And speaking of skill settings, I didn't touch upon this, but I will now. You actually purchase different skill settings. There's a menu where you can, you can up your defense, you can up your firearms, you can up how much an item drops, if you want a bunch of items to drop, or if you just want more handgun ammo to drop, or more shotgun ammo to drop, whatever, you can purchase these skills and then add them on. And you can have per skill slot, I think it's A through F, I want to say. But each one, like A has 3 slots, and then B would have another 3 slots, and then C has another 3 slots. That way, whoever you're using, you could kind of quick equip them if you wanted to, and have a different setup that you wanted. So if Leon, you have one setup, you can have him, and then Jake could have a different setup. Or, you know, if you want Chris to have a different setup, you can have those already predetermined, and then when you start their campaign, you just go into the select menu and pick them. So anyway, back with Mercenaries, it's actually quite fun. The levels that we played, where they were pretty open. We got the time and we started playing, and it got to the point where, you know, it's getting towards the end, and we've, you know, expended a lot of our ammo, and the bigger and bigger bosses are coming out, and we're sitting there kind of in a corner like, there's a guy coming, quick, 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 and we're starting to rush and panic, and it had that feel of like we're being overrun, and it kind of had, once again, that Resident Evil feel where there's zombies at every turn, and we need to, you know, conserve our ammo, but yet try and help one another and make sure that we get out of this situation. So I did like Mercenaries, and I did like the fact that you could get the skills from Mercenaries, not just the campaign. The last kind of play style that they added that I thought was pretty cool is called Agent Hunt. You go in as a zombie, and you will play against another person, 1 or 2, depending on if somebody's playing co-op or not. But you'll go in depending on what stage they're in. You know, obviously, if they're in Leon's, you'll be more apt to play a zombie, and if you're in Chris's, you'll be more apt to play a Juavo. So you go in, and your main goal is to take down the person that's trying to get to their next point. And it's based upon pretty much from, okay, they got in through this point, now you have until they figure out this puzzle to get them. And once, if they make it to that puzzle and finish and get through the door or wherever they need to go, it's over. If you kill them before they get there, then you win. I do love this idea, but they kind of need to integrate it better. There have been times where I would go to play or my friends would go to play, and they couldn't get into a game. You know, it would start to load and then be like, oh, this is, you know, incompatible game, or this is in progress and you can't get in. Or they would get in, but it's at the very end. The person's already solved the puzzle, and it's like, oh, I just saw 3 seconds of cutscene and it's over and I have to start all over again. So I definitely do like it. I just think it needs to be improved a bit. Now, we're going to go ahead and wrap this all up into one package and call this Resident Evil 6, which I like the game. And I will give it a score. And some people have been asking, well, how do you score your games? How do you take into effect of your score? What do you do that counts for the score? The way I look at it is fun. That's my main key with any video game. Fun. Because what's the point of playing it if it isn't fun? Replayability. I think if there's a game that can hold your attention and you can replay it for hours and hours on end and it's still fun, that's definitely a key factor. I think ease of controls. I mean, obviously a game's not going to be fun if the controls are completely ridiculous. So I think the controls would be, the story goes into it, because if it's a fun story and it keeps you captivated, and obviously something that's not like, okay, well the first game says this and the second game contradicts itself. And then I definitely have to say that graphics aren't an issue, because, you know, I grew up with the 8-bit system. Heck, I grew up even with Atari way before the 8-bit system. So I used to play games that were pixels, and it was, you know, I mean, honestly, today's day and age, graphics do matter some, but not that much. So basically what it comes down to is, you know, fun, replayability, story, ease of controls. I don't know if there's really, I don't know. My main thing is fun, and that's what I want people to realize. I think originality has to go into it somewhat, but it's hard to say. I mean, with everything that's there, my score is there for a reason, and I think people understand when I give it what score it is. But for those that don't and did ask the question there, you kind of go, that's kind of how I do it. So, on my scale of 0 to 11, the Big Man Gaming scale. Now, you're like, wait, 0 to 11, it used to be 1 to 10. Yes, I understand that. And you might say, well, why is it not 1 to 10? Well, mine goes to 11. So, on a scale of 0 to 11, I would definitely give this a solid 7. Now, some of you would be like, well, that's not good enough. Some of you are like, well, that's too much. This game is very controversial. It's kind of like with the upcoming Devil May Cry. There's going to be people that are diehard fans that don't feel that this is a true Resident Evil game, and there's going to be diehard fans that believe this is the pinnacle of Resident Evil gaming and that this is one of the best ever. So, in my opinion, as a game, not Resident Evil franchise, not a Resident Evil game, but as a game, it's a 7. Just for the fact that there were so many bugs, there were so many times in the campaign that I was like, this could have been done better. It definitely is just plain out and out a 7. So, there's my wrap up for this video. This is, Resident Evil 6. And take it as it is. I mean, if you guys think this is a good game and you played the demo, check it out and you like it. I will say, though, when I played the demo, I didn't think it would be all that good. And then I picked it up and it was actually better than what I thought it would be. Definitely one thing I do want to say before I wrap up here. Play it if you can on co-op. It is a pain to play solo. Even on amateur, I had a difficult time, and not just because I don't know how to play. I mean, when I played Resident Evil 5, I went through on normal the first time and had no problem. It's the fact that the computer just doesn't help you in any way. The computer just pretty much lets you do all the work, and if you get overrun, you're pretty much screwed. And there's a point, even like if you go down and you have a co-op partner, they can either hit the B button and it just brings you back up, or if you have any tablets from the green herbs, you can hit that and it'll give them a health bar. The computer won't do that. They just lift you back up, and if you get hit again, you're done. So, all in all, I will say, if you can, play this in co-op. So, this has been episode 5 of Big Man Gaming. I am the Big Man Gamer, as always, and I will see you guys in a couple of weeks.
It was a nightmare.
Man, this is some bullshit.